The number of learners who are receiving bachelor's admission has doubled since 1994. This means there are many South Africans who are aspiring to go to university than the system can accommodate. In addition, there's a growing number of working South Africans who cannot fund their kids' education. More are considering student loans to allow their children an opportunity to study further. But this often leaves them with a lot of debt that accrue interest for the duration of study.
There have been significant problems with the functioning of the NSFAS in the last academic year, and we'll have to see if these are solved urgently in 2024. The second thing is that NSFAS really is intended to target the poorest of the poor. So in the history of struggling around getting access to funding for university, there's always been this complicated issue of the missing middle. So on the one hand, you've got families who've got no chance of paying, where there's high levels of unemployment. Then you've got families who've managed to make financial provision. In between, there's families that may be employed, which may be above the minimum threshold, but it's still not enough to fund the costs of university education.
Education for All gives students from previously disadvantaged background an opportunity to study at university without having to pay for their fees up front. But students will have to settle their debt once they are able to secure employment, and they are likely to pay prime plus 2% interest for their study loan.
Ed for All is a non-profit organization that aims to break the vicious cycle of poverty through access to education. I think we're all faced with the same challenges in South Africa, Africa, and globally. No money means no education means no job, again, no money, no education. And it becomes this vicious cycle that just perpetuates. Ed for All aims to disrupt this by saying we'll give you education first. So it's a study now, pay later education model that allows students globally to get onto an online platform to access education.
A 3-year degree for a Bachelor of Accounting at a distance learning institution like Regenesis will cost you 110,000 rand a year. And at Wits University, almost a similar degree will cost you up to 74,000 rand annually.
When it comes to access to higher education in South Africa, you'll know that government provides funding for public institutions, for students of public institutions. But unfortunately, private institutions and students of private institutions don't necessarily have that privilege. But as a private higher education provider operating in South Africa, we realized the need to cater for the missing middle. And towards that end, we have bursary schemes and scholarship schemes. We recently have ring-fenced quite a large amount for bursaries aimed at previously disadvantaged individuals.
The stakes are often high for young people who are battling financially and have to resort to loans to pursue their studies. But students have been urged to carefully peruse their options and consider the risk of not succeeding.
Obviously, it is an attractive option if it gives you an opportunity for a better life, for proceeding. But one would need to, as a family, consider the risks of not succeeding and what would be the financial burden on the family, and particularly that young person. Sometimes it may be better to consider much lower cost alternatives like studying by correspondence, registering with a university such as a public university like UNISA, where you can gradually complete your degree, which many people have done successfully.
The sad reality is that many, despite their good results, qualifying them for a placement in one of the country's top public university, some will be staying at home this year due to lack of funds. Naledi Matlapeng, SABC News, Johannesburg.